when I was in second grade, each kid could pick a day to go to a classroom that was younger, like kindergarten, and read to them. And I was sitting there reading, and I had the book that I wanted to read, and I was really excited because it was also the teacher that I had previously, and I loved her so much. She was like literally my idol. And I was sitting there, I was reading, and I kept getting stuck on words, and I kept having to look up at her, and she kept having to help me. And when I got done with the book, she said, next time, like, let's learn how to read the book before you come and read to a class again.
Oh,
and that,
my God.
Yeah, that really hit me hard. And that's when I really started to go like skip out on anything reading, anything spelling, because like hearing that from my favorite teacher was such a hit in the heart that I remember it till this day, and it's something that really sticks to me. So yeah, and it was just really hard to hear that, especially from someone who I really looked up to.
This is Megan, owner of Dyslexia on Demand.
And I'm Eryn, owner of Advocate to Educate.
And we are the Don't Call on Me podcast.
We are here to talk about dyslexia, to remove the stigma, to hear what families really go through, and to share their stories.
In both of our businesses and personal experiences on a daily basis, we listen to people telling their stories. Many of heartbreak, many of struggle, but most all have a silver lining, even eventually.
It's all about the stories. The more we share, the more we realize we aren't alone and we are a community. No, a tribe standing together. The Don't Call on Me podcast is brought to you by Dyslexia on Demand and Advocate to Educate.
Welcome back, listeners, to the Don't Call on Me podcast. If you've been enjoying these conversations, please take a second to follow the show or leave us a rating. It really helps us reach more listeners who need to hear these stories. But today, we're so excited to welcome Miss Nebraska Teen 2024 Janae Harris. She was diagnosed with dyslexia at a young age, and instead of letting that label define her, she's turned it into a powerful platform for her work. She's out here shifting public perceptions, advocating for others with learning differences, and showing young people that with support and determination, dyslexia doesn't limit your dreams, it just reshapes them. So Janae, welcome to the Don't Call on Me podcast.
Thank you for having me once again. Yeah, I'm Janae Harris, and I'm 18 years old. I just graduated from Millard North High School here in Omaha, Nebraska, and I have the amazing opportunity to be attending the University of Alabama this fall, so I'm really excited.
Okay, so Janae, we're going to go back. Talk to us about if you remember anything around preschool and early elementary. What was that like for you? And kind of what were those first core memories?
Yeah, so I've always loved school. School's been a very big passion for me, with seeing friends, seeing teachers, being able to like express myself, play outside. I always loved recess time. That was my favorite time. But I just loved the environment of school. In elementary school, I never found core issues besides looking back at them now. Then my mom and I, after I got diagnosed, we really do see those. Again, I loved school. I loved all of my classes, math especially. I'm really good at math. It's like one of my top subjects. But when it came to reading or spelling time, I would always say that I was sick, and I would go into the nurse's office. I would sit there and I'd sit there until I felt better, and that was when class was over, and then the nurse would send me back to class, and I'd be totally fine. And then the next day, probably the same thing would happen, or I'd go to the counselor's office. I'd do something just to get out of that portion of class because it just was not my favorite at all. And that was like a very big eye-opener. Definitely now looking back on it and seeing how, younger kids act when, being like proposed with those types of classes and not being able to do those types of things. So because I love to be good at things, I've always loved to have when I'm great at things, I love to do it all the time. So when I wasn't good at reading, I never wanted to do it. In elementary school, there was kind of a lot going on. My parents were transitioning to a divorce. So like we were splitting up houses. I moved out to Omaha from Bellevue. So there was a lot of different transitioning pieces going on. So like the counselors were involved, and my parents knew that I was struggling. They definitely saw some things because my dad, he took a lot of speech classes. My mom was in different reading classes. So we knew that there could be something, but I don't think that they knew exactly what it was because teachers weren't really saying anything about it. And one of like the biggest things that I do remember was when I was in second grade, each kid could pick a day to go to a classroom that was younger, like kindergarten, and read to them. And
Oh
I
my
was
gosh.
sitting there reading, and I had the book that I wanted to read, and I was really excited because it was also the teacher that I had previously. And I loved her so much. She was like literally my idol. And I was sitting there, I was reading, and I kept getting stuck on words, and I kept having to look up at her, and she kept having to help me. And when I got done with the book, she said, next time, like, let's learn how to read the book before you come and read to a class again.
Oh
And
my
that,
God.
yeah, that really hit me hard. And that's when I really started to go like skip out on anything reading, anything spelling, because like hearing that from my favorite teacher was such a hit in the heart that, I mean, I
Yeah,
remember it till this day, and it's something that really sticks to me. So yeah, and it was just really hard to hear that, especially
of
from someone who I
course.
really looked up to. Then my teachers, when they started to notice, they started speaking to my mom, and my mom started being like, okay, this is starting to make sense. We're all connecting the pieces. And I live really close to Boys Town here in Omaha, so I got into some classes at Boys Town and with a speech
What's
pathologist that my
Boys
mom
Town?
knows.
What's
Boys
Boys
Town
Town?
is a facility for kids who are going through transitions, whether it's behavioral issues, whether it's they need counseling for family help, or a lot of kids come here when they're needing to get adopted and they're going through the foster system. So they have this whole community here, and it has housing, it has schools. So families they volunteer their time, but like work, and they're like social workers. So there's just like this really big, great community for kids who are kind of like struggling, need to get back up on their feet before they go into adulting. And so it kind of like pushes them to like be better people and to find the right path for them, and also to get adopted, to find homes that they like. So yeah.
I was just going to say, we talk a lot very often on this podcast when we're interviewing people. There's a pivotal turning moment when a teacher says something like that to them. And so we really do try to kind of focus on that, especially
Yeah.
so that teachers can be aware of their words and just how impactful their words are.
Mm-hmm.
How would you say, you said that was kind of a turning point for you? And there's always an inner voice that we have as an individual, especially that it was coming from one of your favorite teachers. Would you say that that impacted how you spoke to yourself, how you saw yourself? And is that a voice you still hear?
Definitely. Going into middle school and going into my new school, that was something that was always running through my head, and I'd always avoid those classes. But finding the help that I got really did help. But me, I'm a very big people pleaser. Not pleasing somebody and not knowing that I did not do a good job was absolutely insane, especially to hear from a teacher like that. And obviously getting emotional about it, because it really does hurt to hear that. And to know that, like, somebody who I did great in their class, I pushed really hard because I'm a really hard worker, and to hear that from somebody, again, who I looked up to, it really does hurt. But finding the new people at my new school and the new teachers, it really did help, because I got into different programs and the help that I truly did need. And I'm doing greater things than I ever would staying
Yeah.
at that school or keeping that thought into my head. Because honestly, for me, again, being a people pleaser, that pushed me to do better and to try new things and to push myself to not have that be said to me again.
I think hearing you, the way that you process that is so powerful and so mature. And I mean, like, I'm about to cry too, because first of all, because you're crying, but second of all, because I think as a mom, knowing if somebody had said that to my daughter, how mama bear I would be, I just immediately want to protect you, because I can't believe that happened to you. And it makes me so sad.
It's so interesting because it's almost like teachers need HR sensitivity training in the sense, because when I was in school, I didn't get taught how to talk to children. And there's something that has been a defining moment in your life that I totally hear you. Yes, it made you stronger. And these things happen regardless of how much teacher sensitivity training we could give them or whatever, right? That being said, You said you took some special classes. So did you get formally diagnosed? And did your family talk to you about what your diagnoses were? How did that
Yeah.
unfold?
So, okay. I got diagnosed when I was in third grade when I went to the Boys Town and talked to the speech pathologist, and she diagnosed me with not only dyslexia, but also ADHD, which now we know can really play hand in hand. So my mom talked to my teacher. We became really good friends with my new principal at the school. She helped build another program and started new lessons with me and there was only two of us in the class, and we would go separately. I never really knew what dyslexia was up until probably 4 years ago. And when I truly started to take my advocacy into what it was, I knew that I had dyslexia, but not what it was, why I wasn't good at certain things, because I was really great at math and everyone was like, oh, well then you just aren't really good at math. And I'm like, no, because I'm great at math. And they're like, oh, well the words get switched around on the page. And I'm like, no, that I don't see that. So sometimes I'd be like, well, do I really have dyslexia? Because I just heard the myths that everyone else was just floating around. But going into third grade and things like that was honestly my big girl steps, because I loved going into the separate classes and doing the things one-on-one with the other teacher. And then the other student that was in the class with me, I became really close with them. And then even going into high school, I was still in separate classes and knew that I struggled with reading, but didn't know why. But then when I did start to do more advocacy things and started up Pageants and needed to come up with some type of platform to present, then my mom brought up that I had dyslexia and more what it was. And I was like, you know what? I think that's probably what I should do, just with life struggles in general. So all up until going into high school, there was a lot of things that were changing in my life. My parents were getting divorced, so I was transitioning with that. Honestly, just a lot going on. Anything and everything, it would probably happen to my family, but we all coped with it. And honestly, it just makes us just a better family in general, because we've just been through so much together. So yeah, there's just always been other things going on. So I never really got to focus on, well, why am I in these separate classes?
So let's talk about high school. And is there anything else prior to high school? Any core memories? Anything else that occurred that you can remember that were pivotal?
One thing that really, really I struggled with was that's when I found out that I really disliked social studies, because I don't know if it was my teacher or if it was just the books that we were reading, but I just could not comprehend what was going on. So then my teachers noticed that I was really struggling. And so I would go to a different teacher that helped me and gave me specialized tests and whatnot, which at the beginning made me feel really disappointed in myself, because I was doing everything else how all the other kids were doing. But then when it came to social studies and I was doing all my tests separate from everybody and having to sit there with another teacher and read the things, that's what really got me. And so up until high school, this year is when I really started to love history, absolutely love it. And it's because of my teachers. I had really good teachers this year in both government and US history, and I had really great grades, which made me feel really great about myself, because I was always asking friends for assignments and asking for extra help outside. It was cheating on another level sometimes, which really hurt, because I was I know that if I just sat down for an hour or 2 hours longer than somebody else, then I could probably figure it out. But genuinely, I did not have that time, because I was doing dance, I was doing lacrosse, I had school, and then I had some other pageant activities outside, which my schedule was just so busy. So it felt like I had to resort to that sometimes. But yeah. Going into my junior year, my IEP teacher that I had, because groups of us had certain IEP teachers where they were the person that would have the family meetings, they would go through everything. And I got really close with mine. Her name was Miss Malley. Miss Malley retired, and that hit me so hard, because I relied on her. She would give me test answers if I if literally the question was so stupid no one could answer it, it just didn't make sense. And so she would truly push me and help me. And when she retired, it got really hard for me because I also interviewed and got into my STEM academy where I was going to be taking AP classes, and my entire 2 last years of high school was going to completely change. And so because I was going to be going halfway at Millard North and then halfway at Millard West, which was a different high school. And so I would have to drive in the middle of the day to go to that other high school to take the AP classes and to take the engineering classes that I wanted to take. And so it was just going to be such a big and drastic change for me because I wasn't going to have her to help me, and I was going to have to use the resource room at the other school. But the new IEP teacher that I did get set up with, Mr. Sheaf, amazing. We love him. He's awesome. He's like the head IEP teacher. I picked him, I chose him, and I'm glad that I did because he helped me through this, especially this last year of high school, so much. In that whole transition, it was really hard for me because I had just quit my dance team. I decided to take a step back, and then I got into pageants. I really wanted to push on my lacrosse team and really get rolling on that because I want to do it in college. And so going to this new school, having to use their resource room, I found out that at different schools, resource rooms are completely different. At Millard North, these teachers got their degree in mathematics. They teach other classes and do this stuff. They're not just SPED teachers. They don't just teach the kids with the disabilities. The teachers at Millard West are just the teachers that teach the kids with certain disabilities, which was really hard because I don't think that a lot of teachers and schools understand that dyslexia it's not just you're not bad at every single subject. You have amazing strengths. And so when I was doing AP physics, when I was doing AP stats, and I went to go get help in those resource rooms at Millard West, I could not get that help because those teachers didn't understand what I was doing. So they could read the test to me, but I couldn't ask, how do I do this? What is going on? So then I got to talk with Mr. Sheaf at my high school, and he said, okay, from now on, you're going to be taking any test that you take at Millard West here at Millard North with me in my classroom so that we can go through everything and so that you can better understand it, because my grades were very much declining because I didn't have those resources there. And so going back to Millard North and being able to take those tests really increased my last year of high school to get my grades where I wanted them to go.
That's so great that you have that kind of support. And I'm so glad that you actually bring that up because that is a reality. I was a special education teacher in upper elementary. And luckily, I had some strength in math. But a lot of people, when I was teaching sixth grade resource and doing that work with them, you are 100% correct. It's just like a parent who feels like at about fifth grade, they max out with being able to help their kids with math homework. You have to know how to do it. And I'm talking about sixth grade math. I can only imagine what it's like when you are trying to help facilitate trig and stats and all of these much more complex subjects. So yeah, it's not just about having a special education credentialing.
And as far as the accommodations that you did use, what would you say are your top 5?
Definitely longer times on tests or being able to revisit a test, being able to have my test read to me, especially when it came to stats or AP physics, because the language in there definitely gets really hard. And then just being able to go down to the resource room for quiet time during work time so that I can truly focus on what I am doing.
This is the first time I've ever heard of the ability to revisit a test. I think that is a powerful accommodation. That's amazing. I'm going to start using that one. Good job to your teachers.
Yeah. And lucky that you got to do that, because I know that there's a, even with that accommodation here, I can hear the teachers saying, well, that's an advantage. I mean, they go home and rethink about it and then go look things up and whatever. But the reality is we don't have to jump to it being the next day. It could also be later in the same day. It could also just be taking a break, walking away. And also, what about technology? As far as how did that work out? Because you didn't mention using audiobooks or things like that. Was that just not part of your story, or it is?
No. It definitely is. So in middle school is when they started to introduce laptops to schools. And so every student got a laptop going into middle school and then also going into high school. In middle school, I got tested on if I could have certain accessibilities on my laptop. And so I got OpenDyslexic, and I could have Grammarly. Everyone could have Grammarly. So going from my sophomore year to my junior year, I switched to regular English classes. I wasn't in the separate classes anymore. So that was also a really big step for me. And so I was going to have to be in class reading books on my own and like doing things with reading on my own time or just by myself without a class discussion or class reading. But yeah, audiobooks definitely and things on the computer helped a lot. Grammarly was not, it helped when like trying to fix things, but I've actually been working with another up and coming resource for AI technology for dyslexic students. It's called Dyslexico. They are a bunch of college students. The founder, her name is Grace, and she decided to create this whole new, basically like revamp of Grammarly, but for dyslexic students. So you can type out all of your stuff into Grammarly or like into the Dyslexico, into the fonts, and it has OpenDyslexic on the program. You type out like your entire thing. Let's say you spell the wrong bear. And so it will go through and change that instead of thinking like keeping that, because, you know, if it's in Grammarly, it will just keep the wrong bear in there. So then you turn in your assignment and they're like, oh, well, you spelled this wrong. It will actually go through and use the context clues to change what you're saying and to help you further that. So I've been helping them and doing a couple different like help resources with them to keep that going. So yeah.
That's so cool.
Okay. Can you wrap up high school, because there was college applications?
Yeah.
And also, where did Miss Nebraska, like, because was that how long ago was that?
Yeah. So high school, like all of it was so much fun for me. I had a lot of fun. I definitely found the friends that I wanted and the friends that I didn't want. And I found that kind of going into middle school. But honestly, anyone and everyone will always be like, oh my gosh, Janae is such an extrovert. Like, I'm always the first one to go up to somebody. I will blurt out whatever. I don't care what people think. But then, you know, like, I just want my me time. So I'm just good with a couple friends here and there. I'm good with that. So going into pageants, because I decided to take a step back from competition dance, I had my middle school math teacher who became very good friends with my mom and I because her daughter danced with me. She was Miss Singapore way back when, and she has this super thick accent. She's super tall, and she sat my mom and I down and was like, there is a pageant coming up in a week, and I think that you would be really good at it, and I think that you should do it. And I said, you know what? Let's do it. I don't have enough on my schedule, I guess, so let's do it. So my mom and I prepared for this pageant in a week, and we had to figure out what platform I was going to do. And I was like, I want something to have meaning towards me that I could learn more about myself, because I feel like a lot of girls sometimes just pick a certain one thing. A big thing for girls to have as their platform right now is mental health, because yes, it is a really big thing, but sometimes it doesn't always apply to that girl. So I wanted something that really applied to me and others so that I could learn. We started off with the platform. It was such a long name. I don't even remember it, but it was basically just like focusing on life struggles, helping others get through those things, whether it was having dyslexia, house fire, whatnot, divorced parents, just knowing that everyone struggles and that you can push through it. You can do better things. You don't have to choose a bad path. So I did my first pageant, I did good. I won the talent portion, but I don't think that pageant was my vibe. So I went to the second pageant. I won it. I had so much fun. I did a bunch of events. I revamped my platform to be just about dyslexia. I went to state. I won at state and became Miss Nebraska's Teen. And it was amazing. I went to the International Dyslexia Conference and I met you guys and so many other people. And I've had so many great opportunities, and I get to go back again this year. And then I also have the opportunity to go to Africa after, but we'll probably talk more about that. Last 2 years of high school was just a great opportunity to get myself out there and to learn so much, to set myself up for great opportunities going into college. And so I have a full tuition scholarship to the University of Alabama for winning my teen title of Miss Nebraska's Teen. So all of my tuition for the 4 years of me going to the University of Alabama is getting paid for because I won my pageant and because of my platform and all of those things. So yes. So then I went to Miss America in like end of December. It was during the New Year's, like literally in the transition of New Year's. So I went there and I won basically the Miss Congeniality portion where all the girls voted for me, which was absolutely amazing. I had so much fun. And then I wrapped up my year. I talked to multiple different schools and I gave up my title literally like 3 weeks ago. And so now the new girl is going, and then I get to continue the rest of my stuff and start to get like paid for some events and like really making a bigger platform for myself.
Okay. I love how you've had the opportunity to use this platform to actually get in touch with other youth. So the opportunity to go around schools and talk about that, because I think that exposure and that and to see, someone who is Miss Teen Nebraska and who is, competing this congeniality USA, having this opportunity to see dyslexia in that light and how you're talking about the strengths that you've pulled from it, I think is likely so incredibly inspirational to so many children. But not only that, walking around in schools using the word dyslexia, because lots of schools still are just very behind the times when it comes to that level of awareness. So I love that you've done all this.
Mm-hmm, yeah, actually, like having the energy that I have and having the mindset that I have, that I just want everybody to be happy. Genuinely, I just want everybody to be happy, have the same chances that everyone can have, and to do the best that everybody else can do, because we all deserve a chance. Having dyslexia, it is not a superpower. The privilege of what you have and how you live up to dyslexia could be, but it is not something that, oh, I have dyslexia, but I have all these other things. And yes, I do have strengths that come with it, but I have to find those strengths and push them to their limits. And that's what makes me great. But teaching others to push themselves to their other limits is what I do best. And that's what I just want everybody to know when speaking about these types of things, because it's really important for everyone just to be happy in my mind. Like I said, I'm a people pleaser. And when I don't see people smiling or happy or in a great mood how I am, then it makes me feel ill about myself and what I'm doing or what I'm trying to teach.
You are so sweet. I mean, the sweetness is like seeping out. And also, I completely agree. So as we wrap, I would like you to give or share with us what you would want your inner child, that little girl that was in elementary school, to know. That girl that's missing class, that's faking sicknesses, that's hanging out in the nurse's office until like 2 minutes before her math class, or or going to recess, because God forbid we miss recess. What do you want that little girl to know? Because essentially that's what you want other little girls to know about this process and about what it means to be dyslexic.
I think that I would probably tell myself that skipping out on the classes isn't going to get you to where, obviously it's gotten me to where I'm at right now, but if I didn't do that and we found out sooner, maybe I would be further than I am now. Maybe I would be in a different place. But just to be more confident in myself and what I'm doing, I've never let the things that people say put me down in the worst way possible to like change my entire life, because I've gone down a certain path before, and I figured out that was not the path that I should have ever gone down in the first place, and I switched it around really quick. But just to know that if I believe in myself and I believe that I can do great things, and I want to become an engineer, I want to become a doctor, if I want to go to space, then I can do that. But keeping that in my mind, keeping all those hobbies that I have at the front of my mind, because that's what's most important. And having other people say that I'm different or that I'm not as smart as others or I'm just a pretty face or whatnot, that it's not true, and that I have so much more that's inside of my heart and inside of me to spread to other people.
And what would you tell other parents? Let's say, right, you're talking to a parent and they're they're like, well, it worked out for you because you're so beautiful. And yeah, because like we get really raw here. And the reality is people make judgments all the time. Like I would, and when people say, they'll name a famous person and say, oh, but they're dyslexic. And I'm like, yeah. And they're also millionaires and they're this and they're that. Right. So what is something that you would like other parents to know about the process?
Don't see it as a weakness or that your child is different, because they're not different. Nobody is really different. They just have their unique ways of learning or trying new things, and finding what they are best at and pushing them to continue to do that is so important, because that's what keeps them wanting to enjoy more things or try new things. My role with my mom, which I've always loved, is I've always had to do a sport, a club, something. And I've always done at least 2 or 3 in like all of my schooling. And so that has like made me, okay, maybe if I don't enjoy school, maybe if I have a bad day at school, I still have something to go out of school at that's not just home, to enjoy. I have friends, I have family, I can do these fun things. And to work my way up to that point, like, okay, I deserve this. Like, I did a really good job. It's like recognition on another level. But I feel like sometimes parents think that, oh, like they're just different. Oh, they need to be in this class because they are different. But no, I got out of my IEP classes my junior year and I started taking regular classes, and that made me see the limit that I could do and how much further I could go. And so I pushed my limit. If you hold each other back, then it's not going to help. It's not going to help. It's not going to help them further, help them get out of the house. It's not going to help them do anything. You have to push them to be the best version of themselves that they can be.
Very sage advice for an 18-year-old. Extremely mature. It's way
Thank
more
you.
mature than I was at that age.
So if people want to learn about you, do you have a website? Like how do they learn about you? Where can they find you on social media?
Yeah, so my social media for my Instagram is Janae, Janae _ Harris, Harris. So you can find me there. And I'm probably going to start another link tree to like other things when I get deeper into like after Africa and college things. But you can find most of my stuff there. So that's all I really have now. I don't really have a Facebook, but
Okay.
yeah. And if you see me at the International Dyslexia Conference, I'll probably have business cards now instead of my autograph cards. But yeah.
I have a question. Is your mom listening? Has she been listening?
She's right here.
Yeah. So this journey is such a family systems journey. And so I wanted to just hear from you if there was one part that you overheard and that had you get emotional, kind of rehearing that process. And if there wasn't, there's no shame in that, or whatever. I'm just curious.
Yeah, no, when Janae talks to people, like there are definitely times where she's very professional and she's still 18, right? And so you're still learning about yourself at 18. And there's still so much new research in America going on with dyslexia and all of the transitions that are happening. And she's at the forefront of it. So I think that there's times where she is always talking about mentorship and always talking about all of these things. But a lot of times when she has to really talk about her experiences, I was thinking to myself, I could sit here and prep her for all of this. But the thing is, there's so many kids like Janae going through what she's going through all the time that that is what she's wanted to do. She's wanted to let everyone know who is going through the same experience that she's had in the past, that there are very, very normal kids. There's very special kids. There's very spectrum kids. There's very, whatever you want to label these kids, there's all kinds of adults and people going through this. And they've experienced the same thing that Janae experienced in 3rd grade. And I'm just always in awe of her being able to share that story, because when she first chose this as her platform, I was like, this is going to be really raw. You're going to have people judging you. You're going to have people questioning you, and you're not equipped as a teacher to describe what's going on. And I think that it hurts to listen to her sometimes when she does that. But also I know there's so many parents going through that all the time. And there's kids that don't have mentors like Janae has had. And if she can be that mentor for them, that's what she's wanted to do.
What advice would you give to other parents going through this?
we were at a conference not too long ago, and mom had come up to Janae and said, how do I get my kid to be like so involved like you are, do all the things? Because, Janae gives this list of all the things that she's accomplished. And I looked at that mom and I said, Janae fails every week, and she fails really hard all the time. And I've watched her, and I have to sometimes I go to the counselor and I'm like, all right, this is what I'm letting her fail out this week. Am I doing the right thing? Do I need to step in? Right. And the thing is, there's this balance, because failing is learning. And if we are always supporting our kids and never letting them fail, we're not letting them learn. And there is this fine line between sweeping in and taking care of them, and sweeping in and making sure things aren't detrimental. And you have to learn that as a parent, because Janae is so emotional about things because she knows what it feels like to fail. And that's okay. It's okay to be sad, and it's okay. And that's why finding mentors who understand what you're going through is so important.
I think that's really good advice for parents. I think even those who aren't facing dyslexia, I think a lot of parents need to hear a lot of this stuff pretty regularly. So
yeah, parenting is hard.
Yeah, it's no joke. No joke. No. Well, thank you guys so much for taking the time to be here and to use your message to help to really inspire all of those young listeners who are tuning in. I know that
thank you for having the platform to do it.
Yeah. Thank you.
Well, thank you again. And we look forward to hearing all about your journeys, and definitely keep in touch with us. Okay.
Today's episode is sponsored by Dyslexia On Demand. Dyslexia On Demand uses only the highest trained dyslexia therapists, and it's all one-on-one and individualized to your child's needs. The best part is that it doesn't matter where you're located, because it's all virtual. Visit us at dyslexiaondemand.com to learn more.
Today's episode is sponsored by Advocate to Educate. We help parents navigate through the confusing maze of special education in public schools in California. We support families starting as early as preschool through 12th grade, creating individual education plans to support the specific needs of your unique and amazing child. To learn more, go to our website, advocatetoeducate.com.
We're glad you tuned in today. To continue the conversation and be a part of our growing community, follow us on our social media channels and YouTube. Visit don'tcallonme.com to share your experiences and learn from others. Every story shared is a step toward greater awareness and inclusivity. Join us in making a difference, and don't miss our next enlightening episode.